in one of his chapters has a sentence that goes for 30 pages. But that would make sense to you if you think about one simple observation. When you think, you don't use commas and periods. Do you? You don't go, I think I will go to the restroom, period. I am now getting up to go to the restroom, period. Right? That isn't how you think, correct? So if you wanted to translate onto paper just thoughts, you would jettison all punctuation, which would make it one long sentence, correct? And what Joyce wants to do is to represent that to the tune of 900 plus pages for one day in the life of one man's wanderings around Dublin. Now, this novel becomes immediately a sensation for any number of reasons. Nobody had written a novel like this before. There's all of this kind of sexual stuff in the novel. There's all this, you know, I mean, Freud had said it. You spend most of your time thinking about sex. It's there all the time, whether you're male or female. It is a constant, constant thought. By the way, it's not because you want to have sex as much as it is Darwin's notion of survival of the species. It's all about copulation to advance the species. It is a fundamental part of what it means to be a species of any kind. Freud said we're just damaged or challenged with this constantly being a huge part of our psyche. So Joyce will play that game as well. Now you're going to see some stream of consciousness stuff happening in Portrait of the Artist, but it's kind of the easy or accessible way to the novel Ulysses. So that by the time you've read Portrait of the Artist, you kind of get a sense of what's going on. Finally, Joyce was very interested in the notion of epiphany. Now what is that? An epiphany is a moment. See, it's come into parlance in our culture now that it's so simple and obvious. But for Joyce, in Joyce's day, it wasn't. The idea is that you have a moment of insight when all of a sudden you realize what your life actually is. The short story Arathi is a simple story about a little boy who wants to go to a bazaar or to an Arabi or to a five and dime to get something for his would-be girlfriend. Unfortunately, he shows up too late and they're shutting down the shop, the only shop he can get into. He can't afford anything. Girl treats him like, you know, he's a nobody because she's older. He wants to be like a big boy and he can't yet be there. And as he leaves, the final lines of Joyce's short story Arabi will tell us of an epiphany that's quite remarkable. What's the last lines? Read them for us, Mr. Batson.
Gazing up into the darkness, I saw myself as a creature driven and derived by vanity and iceberg.
Read it again for us, Batson, but read it with some alacrity.
Gazing up into the darkness, I saw myself as a creature driven and derived by vanity, and my eyes burned with anguish and anger.
My eyes burn. He gazes up in the darkness. Dude, he didn't get something for his girl. Is this an over response? Maybe a little bit too sensitive? And yet in this moment, this kid maybe sees his whole future unfold before him. My life is gonna suck. And in that moment, he has an epiphany. Not all epiphanies, by the way, are yay! Some epiphanies are like, oh no, right? An insight that tells us something about the world we didn't know before. Artists have them all the time, which is why it's dangerous for artists to drive very much, you see, because they never know when inspiration might strike them, and they'll end up driving off the road and into someone, you see, or something, right? And their only defense is, I was thinking about a new poem I would write, or, you know, work of art, or whatever. Okay.